All right, let's get right into it. This is the incredible true story of espionage, justice, and the 15-year hunt for the man who engineered the Holocaust. So, we're actually going to start this story not at the beginning, but right at the climax, on a dark, windy road in a suburb of Buenos Aires.
The date is May 11th, 1960.
The time? Just 5 minutes past 8 in the evening.
A man steps off a bus and begins his short walk home along Garibaldi Street. He has absolutely no idea that he is being watched by a team of Israeli intelligence agents.
You see, the Mossad agents had this ambush planned down to the second, rehearsing it thousands of miles away. The trap is set. You've got a black Buick with its hood up, pretending to be broken down. A second car, a Chevrolet, is waiting, positioned perfectly to blind their target with its headlights at just the right moment. And then it happens. As the man gets closer, an agent steps right into his path. The words are calm, practiced. "One moment, sir." He grabs the man's arms as he instinctively steps back, and they both just tumble right into a shallow ditch. A struggle, a muffled cry, and the man is bundled into the back of the car, which just speeds off into the night. He's pushed onto the floor, a blanket is thrown over him, and he's warned not to make a move. So who was this guy, and why on earth would a foreign intelligence agency travel halfway across the globe to snatch him off a quiet suburban street? Well, to answer that, we've got to rewind the clock. Okay, here's our roadmap. We've just seen the snatch. Now we're going to dig into the man himself, his escape, the long hunt to find him, that historic trial, and the really profound questions it all left behind. You see, the man in that car wasn't Ricardo Klement, the name on his papers. His real name was Adolf Eichmann. Now, Eichmann wasn't some top-tier Nazi ideologue like Goebbels or Himmler, but don't let that fool you. His position gave him a terrifying practical power. As head of Jewish affairs, he was the primary administrative architect of the Holocaust. He was the guy tasked with turning a hateful idea into a systematic, industrial-scale genocide. The word engine is really the perfect way to describe his role. His job was all about the brutal efficiency of mass murder. He organized the train schedules for deportations all across Europe, he coordinated the theft of Jewish property, and he meticulously tracked the paperwork that sent millions of men, women, and children to their deaths. To really get a sense of the scale of his work, just look at this number. In just 8 weeks in 1944, he personally oversaw the deportation of over 400,000 Hungarian Jews to Auschwitz. He approached this with the cold, detached mindset of a corporate director managing a supply chain, just calibrating the flow of victims to match the killing capacity of the death camps. So, when the Third Reich finally fell in 1945, this organization man suddenly found himself without an organization, but he was absolutely determined to escape justice. He slipped away from a PO camp and, with help from what was called a rat line, a secret escape network for Nazi fugitives often run by sympathizers within the Catholic Church, he made his way to Argentina, a country whose president at the time, Juan Perón, was more than happy to welcome former Nazis. And so in Argentina, he brought his family over, had a fourth son, and worked a series of totally menial jobs: a foreman at a Mercedes-Benz factory, a rabbit farmer, a manual laborer. He was living in poor neighborhoods, hiding in plain sight in a way no one ever expected. But make no mistake, he wasn't repentant. Among the community of ex-Nazis in Buenos Aires, he reportedly boasted that his only regret, was failing to complete the extermination of the Jewish people. So here's the crucial question. How did they finally find him? After years of false leads, from Egypt to Syria, the breakthrough came from a source no one could have possibly expected. The entire chain of events was sparked by his own son's arrogance. Klaus Eichmann, while dating a young woman, made these hateful remarks and bragged that his father was a powerful Nazi. Well, that young woman's father, Lothar Hermann, was a blind Jewish refugee who had been tortured by the Gestapo, and he never forgot the boy's boasts. Fearing that Nazi sympathizers still held positions in the German and Argentine governments, Hermann contacted a German prosecutor named Fritz Bauer. Bauer, who was Jewish himself, did something incredibly brave. He bypassed all official channels and went directly to Israel's intelligence agency, the Mossad. And incredibly, we now know that Bauer's fears were completely justified. Both the CIA and West German intelligence knew where Eichmann was by 1958, but chose not to act. Why? Well, Cold War priorities. They were using former Nazis as assets against the Soviets. Even the Mossad's own initial search hit a dead end because they just couldn't believe a man of his rank would be living in such squalor. But Bauer persisted. He provided more evidence, and in late 1959, the head of Mossad, Isser Harel, reopened the case. By March 1960, an agent on the ground visually confirmed his identity. Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion gave the final order for the covert operation. The plan was set in motion, culminating in his abduction on May 11th, and, 9 days later, his smuggling out of the country disguised as a sick crew member on an Israeli El Al flight. His capture set the stage for one of the most significant trials of the 20th century. So, in April 1961, the trial began in Jerusalem. Eichmann sat in a bulletproof glass booth, a powerful symbol of his isolation from humanity, as the prosecution laid out its case. His entire defense rested on this one idea. He was just a bureaucrat, a small cog in a giant machine, simply following orders. Attorney General Gideon Hausner's opening statement made the trial's purpose clear from its very first sentence. This wasn't just about one man. It was about giving a voice to his 6 million victims. Before they could even address his guilt, Eichmann's lawyer launched a 3-pronged attack on the court's very right to hold the trial, arguing the process was illegal from the start. On the first point, the kidnapping, the court invoked an old legal principle: male captus bene detentis, or badly captured, well detained. They argue that how he got there was a diplomatic issue between Israel and Argentina. It didn't affect their right to try him for his crimes. On the third and most groundbreaking point, the court established the principle of universal jurisdiction. They argued that crimes like genocide are an offense against all of humanity, not just one nation or people, and therefore any nation has the right to act when others will not. The court also asserted what they called a protective principle. In a really powerful statement, they argued that as the state of the Jewish people, Israel had a unique and undeniable link to the group targeted for extermination. Denying that link, they said, would be a profound injustice. What truly set this trial apart from Nuremberg was the focus on survivor testimony. For weeks, the world watched and listened as over 100 survivors took the stand. This wasn't about documents and statistics. It was about human stories of loss and survival, told for the first time on a global stage. It educated a new generation and showed the world the raw human reality of the Holocaust. The verdict was guilty, but the trial's legacy would be shaped by one observer in the courtroom. The court found him guilty, completely rejecting his defense that he was just a cog in the machine. They ruled that delivering victims to their killers is the same as being a killer. He was sentenced to death and executed in 1962, his ashes scattered at sea so no shrine could ever be built. The writer Hannah Arendt, who was observing the trial, was struck by how normal Eichmann seemed. She didn't see a diabolical monster, but a dull, insecure bureaucrat obsessed with his job and his career advancement. She coined a phrase for this terrifying phenomenon: the banality of evil. It was the idea that great evil doesn't require monstrous people, just ordinary ones who fail to think. Now, this idea was shocking and deeply controversial. Critics argued that she was downplaying Eichmann's vicious, personal anti-Semitism and his zealous commitment to the genocide. They felt her focus on the bureaucratic how was a dangerous distraction from the hateful why. And it's a debate that continues to this day. So the court proved that individual responsibility is inescapable. You cannot hide behind a desk or a uniform. But the trial, and Arendt's observation, leaves us with a haunting question about the very nature of evil itself.